Hey, y'all, welcome back. It is Thursday. This is episode number 303 of the Late Night Vision Show podcast. My name is Jason Robertson. I am the owner of Outdoor Legacy, co host here on the podcast. And as always, for the last 303 episodes, my co host, my partner in crime, Hans, what is going on tonight, buddy?
Man, we have a very important review today, so much so we're going to have to jump right into it because we're not going to have a lot of time for small talk. But what I want to say is before we get into the review, if you're looking to buy a brand new night vision or thermal optic, give us a call, 877-350-1818, outdoorlegacygear.com. You can contact us directly if you have questions about the optic that we are reviewing today or any other optic. So we've got this is the Rix Optics Leap 3, 384 resolution. This is a company, Rix Optic, that has been around for a little while. This is our very first optic that we were reviewing for this brand, so it is very important to us. Mm-hmm. And the reason is Jason, there's a lot of this created a lot of Facebook buzz. I think they're not the most we've ever seen, but the most in quite a long time. Wouldn't you say? Maybe since AGM got started, and maybe since Infrared Outdoor got started, but this has created so much buzz. It got a lot of people's attention. And, what we want to do is make sure that we do this optic justice. And that's by giving you our honest, unbiased review. And when I say unbiased, yes, we sell Rix Optics now. Yes, we sell a lot of other brands, major brands, thermal company brands. We have a very vested interest in you seeing this scope and not thinking right away that you have to buy it, but be intrigued enough that you either consider it or you call us and maybe potentially buy it. But we have a very vested interest in making sure that this review goes well. But we also have an important relationship with our audience to make sure that we do this as honest as possible. Now, and the reason why we say this and why we're prefacing this in an unusual way, there has been a buzz on Facebook that has taken off like wildfire, Jason. You've seen it. We're sitting back like, what the heck is going on? This Rix has been around for a while, maybe about a year or so. They started really popping up on the radar, I want to say at the beginning of last summer, when a lot of the buzz started about them and people are like, hey, y'all need to check them out. We are not the first company to always sign up with a brand new brand. And we discussed that in our show, Jason. You did a good job of explaining it back a couple I think it was on episode 300, where we say, hey, we've picked them up now, and this is why we haven't done it until now. We want to make sure that we get a good understanding of how the company's going to operate. We want to meet with that company many times before we actually come on board. We've got to test it. We got to see the quality of the product. We've had these scopes now. Jason, how long have we had these scopes? A couple months, maybe?
Yeah,
now?
I mean, back either late December or maybe first of the year. So, yeah, I mean, a good while. We've been testing.
And I'm talking about, testing. We got a ton of video to show you, but we've been testing them for a long time. Now, and we've been testing before we even signed up to be dealers. So testing, making sure we understand the company culture, the systems and processes, the customer service.
I've been dealing with customer service. I want to see how their customer service is. I mean, that's always a good thing, is call that 800 number and see who answers and talk to them and ask questions. And that's part of our interview process of a new manufacturer.
So we're not going to be the guinea pigs, and we're not going to allow our customers to be the guinea pigs when they buy an optic brand new. This is going to be something we've tested and we have confidence in. Now, there is a lot of stuff on Facebook, information about Rix Optics on Facebook. Some of it is somewhat accurate. Some of it is wildly exaggerated, and so much so that I think that people that work at Rix Optics would say, I probably wouldn't have said that. Example, saying that, the Rix Leap 3 which is a $2,300 scope, is better than some $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 640 resolution optics. And the reason why I would say Rix would sit back and say, I wouldn't agree with that, is because that's not what this scope was designed to do. It wasn't designed to compete against 640 resolution optics. And I don't think
they have their own $3,800
exactly, which was
scope.
even weird.
So they would not say that this L3 is better than that. So no, not at all.
Yeah, it would be weird that people would say it was better than a 640 scope, because they do have 640. But what we're going to do is going to talk about this scope in a fair way, in an unbiased way. And when you can get it, you have a managed expectation of, this is what I thought it was going to be. This is what I was told it was going to be. And I've got it in my hands, and it's exactly the way that it was explained to me. Because the last thing you as a consumer need, and us as Outdoor Legacy as a company, and the Late Night Vision Show as a show, is for that customer to get that optic and say, this was way oversold. And now I am very, very unhappy. You've wasted your time, money. You're frustrated. The companies lose a lot of money when you're not happy. If we want to send that back immediately or whatever. So we have a vested interest in making sure that you have a very good, clear expectation of what you're going to get with this scope. And I want to give an example. And again, I'm not doing this to beat up a manufacturer, because we love this. Infrared Outdoor, iRay USA, when they first launched on the scene, they had some of the best marketing material, Jason, to date. I mean, their marketing team is still unbelievable. And they launched their scopes. I think one of the very first ones was the Ricoh RH50. Good scope came out. When it came out in the market, it was $59.99. There were people out there claiming that scope, and specific people, I can even remember them to this day, I can remember the conversations, that it was side by side better than the Envision high quality, top of the line Envision Halos 640s. I mean, and again, I think people within iRay USA would say, we love our scope. It's great for $6,000, but we don't really know. We don't know if we really feel comfortable saying right. that publicly. And it turned out what happened was a lot of people got scopes that were good scopes, but they expected a $20,000 thermal and they got a $6,000 thermal, so
right.
What I'm saying is, Facebook is very bad, y'all. I hate to say it. No, there's a lot of bad information. I see it I tell Jason, I can't look at it anymore, because there are people on there that are commenting about scopes that they haven't seen, or they have very explicit biases because they're a dealer. Maybe they sell one brand or two brands. So they're like all in on this brand. And I get that. They're trying to sell scopes, but you're watching this review. Hopefully we have your attention for the next 30 minutes, 45 minutes or so, hopefully not that long. And we are going to give you our honest opinion. You're seeing this review right now because this optic is worth you seeing. We have confidence in it. We are selling it. We know what it can do. And we are going to present this review to you in a way where I think it's going to put Rick's in a better position. I think the customers are going to be more happy because they know what they're getting. And at the end of the day, this is going to, I think, make sure that, I hope, some of the bad information that is coming out about this optic is finally a spotlight is shined on it and say, no, that is not right. This is what's right. So anyway, Jason, that is my rant. 8 minutes in. Sorry.
No, so I want to transition off that. I want to say something. This is what I think is very important of what Hans is saying. There's a lot of guys come into this and they say, oh, I've got a couple $1,000, $2,000, $2,500, $2,300, and that's kind of my budget. And so the Rix L3 is a scope that fits that perfectly at $22.99, and so it's going to be one of the top contenders they're going to look at. But what we're seeing is that people have heard so much misinformation, embellishes, lies that are out there. Again, I hate to keep throwing on Facebook, but a lot of this misinformation. And so what's happening is there's some guys that get these optics and then they're extremely disappointed. But here's the thing. What they've actually gotten with this L3 is a fantastic scope that is a very good value for the dollar, but they're disappointed. They're disappointed because they were expecting something that was impossible to get for that money. And it's not that the scope's not fantastic. It's not that the scope doesn't compete well. It's not that it's not a great value. It's that they thought they were getting 3 times the scope they were. So we're seeing that as people go, well, wait a minute. This isn't what everybody said, or this isn't what somebody else told me. Well, that's because you were misled or embellished or lied to, and there's been a lot of that going on.
And again, it's not Rick's fault either. This is not Rick's. This is stuff coming out of Facebook again. People that haven't seen it or just
Or have only seen one
implicitly-
scope, or have very, very
Bias.
limited experience.
Yes, exactly.
So that's where we want to be the reasonable point here of we're going to tell you what this thing will do, and really conservatively, realistically, what it will do. And it is a great scope. So I don't want this to start off on the negative, like, oh, these guys don't like this scope. No, we wouldn't be reviewing it. We've never reviewed anything here that we didn't like, we didn't think was good value, whatever. I do want to bring up one more thing, and this is not a negative. This is a point of explanation. And it's something that we were actually had a problem with before we picked up Rick's. It's something that I still have a problem with the way it's being described. And I'm going to hold up a Rick scope here. I took it out of the mount so I can hold this easy and show you. This right here, you throw this little lever, and Hans is going to show you a little more about this, and you twist this around, okay? So this is being called optical zoom. And in some extremely narrow sense of the word, you could call it optical zoom. Inside here, there are some lenses, and those lenses are moving, and you are continuously, as you move this, zooming in. So you're going to go from, let's say, a 3.2 to 3.3 to 3.4 to 3.5. You get the idea, just like you would your daytime scope. But what you're doing is you're zooming in on your display screen. Okay? Now I'm making a point. That's not what we, as optic owners, as whether it's thermal or daytime, any type of hunter, when we hear optical zoom, we think and we know what it is. It's just like taking your daytime Leupold scope and you reach up there and you twist and you're moving little pieces of glass and everything gets closer to you and you lose nothing but a little bit of field of view. But this, I think, to be honest and ethical and fair, this needs to be called ocular zoom. And the reason is because ocular means eye, and you are zooming in on your eyepiece. That's all you're doing is you are literally zooming in and making the eyepiece, the screen. I keep saying the eyepiece. I guess that's not true. Zooming in on your display screen through the eyepiece and making it look closer to your eye. Ocular zoom, I'm okay using that term. Optical zoom, I am not. Now, you go, Jason, I don't really care. What's the difference? Why does it matter? You're making a mountain out of a molehill. I'm not, and here's why. Up until about, 18, 20 months ago, there was no thermal optic on the hunting market, period, that had any sort of possibility of zooming in optically. You have your base optical magnification and you have digital zoom. That's all you got. Well, what we have seen over the last, basically year and a half is multiple optics coming out that have two lenses. Okay, so there's two lenses up in the front. And when you zoom, let's say it starts at a 2 power and it goes up to a 4 power. Now you don't have 2.2, 2.3. It's not continuous, but you're going up to a 4 power, two different lenses. Really cool feature. This is groundbreaking, very, very, very big deal in the thermal world. And these scopes cost a lot of money because there's two lenses and it's expensive. And there's a lot going on there. And we're seeing more of these come to market. What I don't like is, and we've had these comments literally on our podcast, on our YouTube channel of, well, it's a shame that Rick's can put continuous optical zoom for $2,300, and these other companies are trying to get $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 for these scopes, and it's not even continuous. Well, that's because you don't understand what's actually happening, and it's misinformation. This is not a slam on Rick's. This little feature is kind of cool. Okay, it's a little bit of a parlor trick, but it's cool for what it's doing, and we're going to talk about the usefulness of it and how it actually works. But I'm making this point, and it's just because I hope that one day Rick's is able, maybe they're going to be the company to bring us true optical zoom. I hope they are. But when that day happens, that's going to be a huge, huge deal. And whatever company does that deserves the credit. And right now, these companies that are using two lenses to have two different optical magnifications deserve the credit for going out there and forging ahead into the industry and creating a new technology that we've never had. And I just don't want this to be taking away from that and confusing what they're doing. So I do want to just mention again, what's happening here is you're zooming in on your display screen. It is kind of a cool feature, and it does work. There are some limitations. There are some issues that you can come, Hans and I'll talk about when you zoom in on that, but it is cool. So this is nothing against Rix. This is not a Rix issue.
No, nobody else is doing this, which is great. I mean, this is something, and I'll say this real quick before, and I'll let you get into it. But what you're talking about, there are people out there still, and they may even comment to this video, that are trying to parse, is that the right word? Parse words, mince words, whatever. They're trying to say, well, it really is optical zoom because they're trying to scientifically say it truly is optical zoom. But no, Jason's right. It is not optical zoom the way that hunters know it with daytime optics. This is, like he said, you're basically zooming in on the screen. That's not, whether you try to defend it or not, or try to mince words on what is ocular and what's
it's not
optical,
the general definition. How about that?
Yeah,
we all know. And the way you can tell it is the optical zoom cannot be seen on any videos. The reason is because the zooming is happening behind the thermal sensor, behind the recording. The recording is taking place up here in front of this thermal sensor. And so if you're zooming up here, you can see it. If you're zooming back here, you can't see it. So with that said, again, I think it's a cool feature. We're going to talk about it. I suspect we will actually see this feature on some more optics. I think there may be other manufacturers that come along, and we can go back and say, hey, Rix is the one who started this. I mean, Rix is out here forging ahead with some new technology. And so I think it's a good thing.
Absolutely.
But I just want to make sure that credit is where credit is due. Rix deserves the credit for coming out with this. I think these other brands that are right now working on these dual lens systems, they're very complicated, very expensive for them to do and research and develop. They deserve that credit, and hopefully one day we'll get this all fused together and we'll have true optical zoom. All right, we've gone a very, very long time.
There might be other companies that say, you know what, let's copy Rix, and they can do that, and they can do it very inexpensive, and they can do this cool little zoom in feature on the screen, and they can do it inexpensive. Why don't we do it? So I mean, there might be some people that copy them.
Yep, exactly. Now, listen, I know we're 15 minutes into this show. There's going to be guys say, good gracious, I wanted a review of the scope. I can't believe it. We're going to see those in the comments. But guys, this is what we do on this show. If you don't like it, I'm sorry, but we want to be true to our listeners. We want to be true to our Outdoor Legacy customers. We want to be true to Rix. We want to make sure that we give you the best possible information we can. Like Hans said, we don't want anyone being disappointed and surprised when they get something, but we want to give credit where credit is due. And I'm going to tell you something. Rix has got a great scope, got a great value. There's a lot going on here for this money, and I don't want anybody to get it and be disappointed, because in reality, this is a heck of a good value for the money. So let's jump into the specs of this scope. It is, again, the Rix Leap L3. It is a 384 by 216 resolution. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. 384 by 216. It's 12 microns. It's got a 50 hertz refresh rate and a sub 25 millikelvin NETD rating. It's a 35 millimeter objective lens, and it is a 3.2 power base magnification. Again, the price is $22.99, so right at $2,300. Field of view is going to be 39 feet horizontally at 100 yards. It does have digital zoom up to 4 times. It does have the ocular zoom, as we talked about before. Detection range is going to be about 1,968 yards, according to Rix. It's got an OLED display with a 1920 by 1080 display resolution. It does record video and audio. The video is going to come out at a 960 by 720 resolution. It is an IPS 6.7 waterproof rating. That is fully waterproof, fully submersible to 3 foot for 30 minutes. it will operate down to -4 degrees. It's got all the features that you expect it to have. Again, video recording, smartphone app, multiple color palettes, multiple rifle zeros. I mean, I hate to say just take it for granted, but at this point in time,
Yeah.
it's we're just to the point. All these scopes have that, and Rix does. It also uses a single 18650 fully removable rechargeable battery, and I am working here as we speak trying to find my notes of when I did. Here it is. So doing the battery test on this, guys, this is huge. I have to say this is probably one of the most shocking battery tests I've ever done, in a good way. A single fully removable 18650 battery on this L3, turning it on, setting it on my desk, letting it run down, again, just normal room temperature. I got 7 hours and 56 minutes.
Yeah,
8
that's good.
hours on one 18650, and it comes with two. I've never seen battery life like that in a removable 18650. So you take that into the field, normal temperatures, let's just say you even bring that down to 7.25 hours. You take that into cold conditions. I mean, you're still looking at, 5, 6.5 hours. That's a lot of runtime on one removable 18650. That's one of the biggest things that I just fantastic. Love that. Because y'all, us. If you listen to this show, we're big 18650 fans. So Rick's two thumbs up right there. The scope also has a USB-C for external power. It weighs about 2.4 pounds bare, about 2.8 pounds with the mount and the battery. It has got a max recoil rating. Now they give this in G's and joules, 1,000 G's and 6,000 joules. And here's where this gets a little confusing: is there's multiple manufacturers that say 1,000 G's, and they give different recoil ratings. So, pretty widely different. So, Rix hasn't said here in their specs. We're going to say this: we know that it is at least a 308 recoil. I would suspect they would say somewhere closer to the 300 Win Mag, 7mm mag, but I don't know that for a fact because they did not list it. But we know it's at least a 308 recoil. Right. It does take 30mm rings. We will talk a little bit about that. That's very important because you're going to need some different rings than you would use with some other scopes. Dimensions 4.2 inches long and about 3.5 inches by 3 inches. And that is the gist of the specs. Again, $22.99 Rix L3. Hans, let's do the walk around.
Yeah. So one of the great things that I noticed whenever the scopes was shipped to us for testing from Rix, is how nice the box is. How well, just a nice presentation of the bag that it comes with and all the accessories you did. Like you said, it does come with an extra battery with an 18650 charging. I'm trying to put this stuff down while I'm doing this. 18650 charging base. It comes with a rubber eye cup, even though we don't have it, or I don't have mine on here. And it does come with a mount. Like Jason said, we're going to be talking about the mount here in a little bit. But here's the scope, y'all. I think Jason might have already shown you, but this is where the ocular zoom function is. I mean, you can either put this little thumb, a little bar out if you want to, or you can just turn it. It doesn't have to be. Some people just leave them in. I left it in when I was turning it up and down, but it does have an eyepiece diopter focus, objective lens focus. You got your USB-C port right here on the side. Now you can honestly say that the way that this scope was set up as far as the turrets and what they do, they did not copy this off of anybody. This ingenuity was designed in-house by themselves. So you've got 3 turning and working turrets, which I think all the other ones just really have at the most one or two. I mean, that actually do something within the function of the menu and the scope. So this actually has three. You got a button on the side. You got a button on top. On this side, you got your 18650 battery door that latches closed. And we'll want to say what you need to make sure on this. This isn't a negative. We ain't got to that part. But when you put that battery door closed, you may even hear a click, but you need to lift that up and just make sure it latches, because you may hear a click. You might think, oh, well, it's closed. Well, hear a click and lift up on it just to make sure it's latched in there good. That's just a little side note. Just I wanted to tell people on that. But this is a scope it feels, I don't want to get into the likes either, but man, it just feels very well made. When you sent it to me, and we got it out, it was like, man, this does not feel like a $2,300 scope.
No,
it just felt, that was the first comments that you and I had about it when we first kind of really opened them at the same time. So that's a walk around. Nice presentation, nice scope, well designed, a lot of ingenuity in the menu. And anyway, I don't want to jump too far ahead into the likes because there's a lot to talk about still.
Yeah, there is. Are you through with your walk around? I don't want to.
I am. Yeah, sorry, that was a bad transition for you, but yes,
No, we're good. So let's talk about some likes and dislikes. Let's get the dislikes out of the way. We always like to do the negative first, and I always seem to be the bad guy here. So I think that this is going to be a pro and this is going to be a con. Actually, no, I'm going to do that last because I always like to do my pro and con together. We'll do that at my end of these. One small thing is that the height right here, the size of this, I should say, and I'm talking like tiny amount, maybe an eighth or a 16th on this front lens, is a little bit too large for a standard height mount. So like if you take the American Defense recon mounts that we sell and we use for all the other optics, just that standard height, it's just that much too short. So it does not work. So what that means is if you want to go out and get your own mount and get a high-end mount, American Defense or something, you're going to have to work a little harder because you're going to have to get a non-standard height. It's going to have to be a little bit of a taller mount, which is going to end up putting it even a little higher than you probably need it to be. Normally those taller mounts cost more. I think like the American Defense mount is I think it's like 20% more or something like that. So, it's going to cost you more money. The good thing, now I'm going to go back to the pro real quick, is that Rix is including a mount, a single piece mount with two QD throw levers. Hans has got right there on his scope. I took mine off. They're including that in the box with these. So that is really, really cool. I really like that. That's a pro. You're getting a mount that works very well. Hans, I think you said you even took that off of your rifle, put it back on, and it held 0, correct?
Shot a coyote with it after taking it on and putting it back on. So yes, it is a little bit, you're like, oh man, I miss my American Defense mounts, but the mount that it comes with does work.
It works. So there you go. So if you want to buy an Astro mount, you can do that. It's a little disappointing that it is a little bit of a taller mount than any other scope on the market uses, or any other thermal scope on the market uses. So it's kind of a non-standard thing. Hopefully they'll change that in future models. But again, it doesn't take but just like that much. So minor detail. One thing that I do think's a little strange is the 384 by 216 resolution. So what that gives you is when you look through there, and you can see this on the videos, Hans will be playing some videos here, is it gives you a wide rectangle of a display screen and, the video you're seeing. And I just don't know why, because we're used to 384 by 288 with every other thermal manufacturer and those sensors. And so what you're giving up is a 25% of your pixels on the vertical side. I don't know why. Again, we're used to 288. This is 216. I just don't know. I don't know. I don't know why it's that way, but that's the way it is. It's not the end of the world, but you are giving up vertical field of view, and your screen is going to be, smaller because of that. Again, most people aren't complaining about that. I haven't heard a lot of complaints, but it is something that Hans and I noticed right off the bat, having used so many different thermal scopes. And then the last thing that's going to be a pro and a con, and we're going to go back and we're going to talk about this ocular zoom, as we will forever now be called here on the Late Night Vision Show and Outdoor Legacy. This ocular zoom is, it's cool. All right. It works. I would say this: when you zoom in on your display screen, yes, there's a little bit of loss of image quality, but you're losing less than you're using with digital zoom. Okay. You're losing less image than you would be if you digitally zoomed it up. So that's a pro. All right. That's a win. But I do think that the negative that we're finding is when you zoom in, what's happening is you're changing, again, how close that screen is to your eye. And sometimes it makes the reticle a little blurry. And and the only way to really fix that is to start spinning right here your diopter, which again is what focuses the screen to your eye. And I'm not saying everybody is experiencing that, but I know on all of the optics that we have, we've tested the L3s multiple units and the L6s multiple units. We have seen it where, and again, everybody's eye is a little bit different. Some people are more sensitive to it than others. There's even been some complaints of it actually when you zoom that, all the way around to that 9.6 magnification, that it kind of gets so blurry. There's almost looks like there's two reticles. Well, that doesn't work. On the lesser end, we've seen it you could still take the shot, but it just not being the sharpness that you want. So again, the way to fix that is to refocus the ocular lens here, to your eye, focusing that. Zooming it just a little doesn't seem to be a problem. It seems to be more when you get into that, 6, 7, 8, 9 power. That's where when we started noticing it more. So that was a little bit of a pain, having to refocus or the kind of being blurry on you. But minor detail for a cool feature. So I think I'm going to transition that, and Hans may have a negative here he wants to mention, but I'm going to transition to a positive and say that is a cool feature. I think that there's a lot of people that aren't going to try to go zoom up to 9 power. They've got a 3.2 power optic, and they just may want to go up to 4. They just may want that little more magnification. And now, without having to digitally zoom and press the button and go to double it, go to 6.4, they don't have to do that. They can go, I want that animal to be a little bigger, turn that dial just a little, zoom it in, still have a great image, take that shot. So again, overall, the feature's a pro. I do think there's a little bit of maybe fine tuning it needs, or just, again, maybe depending on the sensitivity of your eye and that focus.
Yeah, it's really weird that you mentioned that, and we may have already mentioned this. I don't remember. It does have digital zoom as well. So the scope does have,
sure does,
as ocular zoom and digital zoom. But when you mentioned it, sometimes it made the reticle when you did the ocular zoom that it made it blurry or doubled. That was that guy. I was one of those guys, which was weird. It did it for me when I raised the optical zoom. When I got all the way up to 9.6, it made the reticle where I had to refocus it. But Jason, you it didn't affect me that much. So I think it's different. I think it's different for different people.
I think so. And it may be different optics. I could still use it. It was blurry. It annoyed me a little bit, but I could still take a shot if I had to. If I was really going to be using it, to be honest, I would have to refocus that eyepiece a little bit. If I was going to look through it for more than just a second to take the shot. So
I would have but I didn't, but I never raised it up that high anyway to take a shot. But the only negative that I would have, other than the ones that you mentioned, is you mentioned the weight. It's 44.65 ounces on the scale. That's fully loaded. That's with the mount and the battery inside. It's about 4 or 5 ounces heavier than comparable scopes, tube style scopes in this range, in this price range. So a little bit heavier than others. Now, if you want to flip that around and make it a positive, it doesn't feel cheap if you want to turn that into a positive. So it does. I mean, a little bit heavier, but does feel solid, and that it's not going to fall apart on you.
I will say this as a pro, this scope feels really well built.
It does.
I mean, I'm going to lean here and I'm going to say this is one of the nicest feeling fit and finish of this style of scope out there. It really feels good. These turrets here that you're turning, that nice. I really like them a lot. I think on the pro side, well built, 18650 battery. That's, again, I'm not going to harp on it anymore. We love that, and you're getting an amazing battery life. Rick's is giving you two 18650 batteries and a charger, so you got everything that you need. I think that the turret system is good. Somebody brought up the fact, I think it might have been our other salesman, Ashley, that sometimes on the turrets, it takes, you got to use all three depending on what you're doing. And I do see that. I mean, so you got to use both hands. I would say most of the things that you would be having to use your right hand, which would be your off hand normally, or I shouldn't say your off hand, that would normally be a hand that you're using on a rifle if you're right-handed, which would kind of be a problem. Most of those things I don't think you're going to be changing in the field, changing reticle color, those sort of things. I think you're going to be able to do most of it with two hands, but it is something, I guess you could be aware of, that sometimes it does take both hands to do some things there. I think the fact that you're getting that Rick's branded mount in the box, I mean, it's a quick detach, return to zero, single piece mount, that is saving you. If you decide not to buy an American Defense mount, that's saving you $250, So I think, well, actually more than that. I think the mount that fits this one's about $270, $280, somewhere in there. So you're saving a lot of money if you just want a mount, that comes with it. You've got that. Hans, what are you got some more pros? I know. What do you
got? We mentioned the turret system. I love it. I think it's very easy to use. I think it's straightforward. I don't think it's overly complicated. I think the common person can get this scope out and get it up and running very quickly, like a lot of people that have already bought this optic has explained, and it was my experience as well. I do think we can't really call this a true ambidextrous design turret system, and I do think it's probably geared more convenient for a right-handed shooter, as opposed, because you were right. Most of your functions out in the field are going to be on the left side of the scope or on the top, but you're right on that. But the likes, great presentation when you get the box, feels great coming out of the box, feels high quality. It's got a good picture image. We really haven't touched a lot on that, but it does have a very good picture image, worth every bit of $2,300. It is stiff competition for everybody else in that price range, the $2,000 to $3,000 price range. I think the ID range, Jason, just from taking out and using as much as we have, and seeing coyotes run in from several hundred yards away, and I even put a video in here of coyotes running in. I didn't have time to show the whole clip, but I mean, basically running from several hundred yards away up to the collar, which was about 20 yards away. So, I mean, I would say realistically, conservatively, the ID range on a coyote is going to be close to 300 yards on this 384 resolution scope. I really like the fact that it starts out on 3.2 power. Man, in that $2,000 to $3,000 price range, the options for coyote hunters has just dramatically increased within the last 6 months to a year, just from all the scopes that have been put out from a lot of different manufacturers. This one, 3.2 power, I think it's ideal for somebody who's shooting on average, anyway, I'm skipping way ahead. On average, between 100 yards and 200 yards on average is if that's what your shooting distance is. But conservatively, 300-yard ID range. Like you, I love the 18650 battery. It's removable. The turret system we talked about. I mean, the picture image, though. The picture image, it would not be in front of you right now on camera. It would not be on our desk and on our rifles if it didn't have the picture quality that was good enough to be able to confidently recommend as a scope.
Absolutely. I was still hung up on the fact that you tried to combine dramatically and drastically together, and you had a new word that you almost
Did it
said. And I've
sound?
just been-
Did it sound smooth though? Like, what
It,
is the
it did
audience going to
not. You
notice?
almost pulled it off, and then
What?
you turned it in the middle of the word. And I'm sorry, I didn't hear
But-
anything after that. Dramatically, I think is what you were trying to say. But anyway, I'm just-
93% of the polled audience would have not known that. It would have not even picked that up unless you would have said it. And that
Well,
is a polled. That is a
I'm-
fact checker's
that's a
fact check.
Well, I'm just going to say this. I'm in that 7% that caught it.
Okay,
Dramatically
yeah,
is.
yeah.
I mean, that's my new word of the week. So
Yeah.
no,
Dramatically.
Yeah,
If that's the only word I screw up in this whole review, then I'm doing really good.
Hey, let me tell you something. We're inventing words for this L3. It's that
Yeah.
good. It's that
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
I think that yes, it's something, you mentioned there. We haven't really gotten into the image quality. I think the image quality is very good. I think it's very fair. I think everything, it competes very well with everything in that $2,000 to $2,500 range. I think it just really it goes toe to toe with those optics. It is just an overall good package, a good value for the dollar. You were kind of getting in there, who's it good for? I don't disagree with any of that. I don't think it's for everybody. No scope is for everybody. I mean, the day, like we always say, the day somebody creates a perfect scope and that it's good for everybody, well, that'll be the only scope on the market and everybody else can shut their doors. And I don't think this is it, but I do think that it is good for a lot of people. And I do agree that you need to be doing a lot of 100+ yard shooting or 75+ yard shooting. I don't think you want to buy this scope if you're hunting in the woods and shooting 25, 50 yards all the time. But like we would say with any 3-power optic, which I know this is a little 3.2, but it's the same principle. It's really going to be good for your predator hunters, coyote hunters, and even hog hunters that are maybe hunting over feeders or just not, maybe they're spotting and not stalking up as close. Image quality definitely holds its own. It's got a full feature set of everything all the way down to the mount. I know we're going to, Hans already said this.
The app works really well. The app, it's
well.
easy to use, easy to get videos off. It does have
there's
viewfinder mode and all that.
One thing that I think it's probably minor to a lot of people, but Hans and I see so many optics, and we open so many optic boxes that I just have to say, I'm going to go back to this, but their presentation in the box when you open it, there's some paperwork that's sitting there on top, all this. It's just a really, really nice presentation. And guys, I'm so sorry. We forgot a huge thing that Hans, maybe you can go back and put some text on the screen, but I should have gone this in the specs. It was not on my notes. That's my fault. This scope has a 5-year bumper to bumper warranty. And Rick's also has a 10 business day policy of repairing or replacing it. So if you send this scope in and they have a facility here in Texas, that's where you're going to deal if you call customer service or if you need to send the scope in. And if you send that in from the time they get it, they say that within 10 business days, they will either send you a new scope or have this one repaired to send back to you. Now, again, like we always say on any companies that are offering this, it's 10 full business days that they possess it, not from the time you dropped it off at the UPS store or whatever. They have it for 10 days, but it's a big deal because now they're shooting for less than that, but they're kind of telling you what that maximum is going to be. And that's really nice because some companies give you no idea. It could be there, it could be 2 days. It could be there 2 or 3 weeks. You just don't know.
Yeah.
But 5 full years, 10 business days, fantastic warranty. Really like that about it. At this point, almost all of the major manufacturers, they're at that 5-year mark. I think that is just where we're at, and we're happy to see that with Rick's. And again, I mentioned this early on, but I've been talking to customer service. I like to call and ask questions and see what kind of, does somebody answer the phone? If they don't, do they call me back? Am I getting somebody that can answer basic questions? And I've gotten all of that. Customer service has been very, very good. They've answered the phone almost every time. When they don't, I get a phone call back very quickly. And man, they've just been very, very helpful. And that's something we always like to kind of test and see how that works. And it's been good. So overall, guys, I think this is a 2 thumbs up. It's a great optic.
Great optic. Now, if you are interested in purchasing the Rix Optic Leap 3, and you want to do it and do it with us, Outdoor Legacy, we would love your business. I mean, that's why we do the reviews. That's why we do all the work and all the content. Obviously, we put the information out there, and it's up to you what you do with that information. But we hope that you choose to deal with us. I know it's a big commitment, and that we're talking about a lot of money. But you can take confidence and know that when you call us, you can speak to us if you're interested in purchasing a new optic. OutdoorLegacyGear.com, 877-350-1818. If you want to do so, we'd love for you to go check us out on Facebook and on Instagram. Obviously, you may be watching on YouTube or listening to the podcast only versions. Please subscribe everywhere. Check us out on the socials. You can find Outdoor Legacy on YouTube, on Instagram, and on Facebook. You can find me at YouTube on Hans ETX, or at Hans ETX on YouTube, and on Facebook and on Instagram. But we would love your business, and we'd love to talk to you about Rick's Optics and how they compare to others, how do they compare to others in this price range, and to help you make that decision. So definitely give us a call.
All right, guys. Hey, also, we will be coming soon, maybe a few more weeks, but we've got a lot of reviews to do. We will be reviewing the Rix L6. That is their 640 resolution, 2.8 power, 3799 thermal scope. Looks just like this. Put them in a bag, shake them up. You can't tell the difference until you turn it on and look through and see that 640 image quality. And so that's something that we will be reviewing. Now, I always get this. Well, I want to see y'all's review. I'm interested, but I got to wait for your review. You do not have to wait for our review. We've already used the scope extensively. We used it as much as we've used this one. We just don't have time to review it tomorrow. So call us, 877-350-1818. We would love to have your business. We can talk to you about the L6 and other scopes that we haven't reviewed yet. Any of these optics, once we've used them, we just can't put all the reviews out at one time, and one a week. So it just takes a long time to get them there, but we'll give you our one-on-one thoughts on that. And again, would love to have your business on whatever optic you decide on. So again, stay tuned. This spring, we will have the L6 review as well. But guys, we hope to see you here again next week, episode 304. Reviews. We got tons of them. We also have 2 or 3 topic shows. We got some good topics that Hans and I really want to get to. So we may mix a few of those in pretty soon to try to take out a little bit of the redundancy of the reviews. But we just got so many optics hitting the market. And we really, really want to get those reviews out there because so many of you are asking for them. So guys, thank you for watching this review. We hope to see you here again next week. But between now and then, y'all stay safe in the fields.